another video lecture. Today we are going to discuss the mechanical stress in the human body basically. So, understanding how mechanical stress affects the human body, how it differs from pressure, types of stress, and its implication for injury and basically related to the spinal load, especially. So we need to take a brief look on introduction of mechanical stress. So today what we are going to talk about mechanical stress. Basically a very important concept in biomechanics and physiotherapy. So specifically what would happen is whenever an external force acts on a human body. External force, any kind of force, okay? Like you can just say that if you can push your body with something or with your other hand, okay, just take your other hand as an external force and you push, or you can just move your hand or put force on the other hand or the other arm of your body. It creates some kind of internal forces at the same time as well. So this internal response is called as stress. So that means what would we have done? From one arm, I have put in an external force to the other hand. So the hand on which I am putting some kind of force with my okay, we can just take this example. Like on the right hand, we are putting force, and from the left hand, okay, so we can use the left hand as a force on the right hand, and right hand is basically creates its internal forces at the result of external force, and that internal response that is acting on the right hand is called as stress. So what would the basic difference between the stress or pressure? Here you can see, okay, we can just highlight this so you can understand that easily. This is okay. What would happen is basically pressure is the external force that we have discussed okay before. External force applied to a body or the solid body. And stress is the internal reaction within the body tissue when that force is applied. So what would happen? Pressure is the external force, stress is the internal reaction. Both are different, but one is acting on external and other is acting on internal component of your body. So both are calculated the same way, like force divided by the area, specific the formula of that. And if you can just take a look on their units, newton per meter square or pascals, same like that, okay. So I am just giving you a specifically example so we can defer the pressure, the stress, okay. What would happen, like imagine pressing a finger on your arm, okay. Just press a finger on your arm. If the force is spread over a large area, it causes less stress, okay. You just put finger, and if that finger basically covers the large area, so it causes the less stress, okay. It can spread the force. If that same force is focused on a single point and it cause more stress, possibly even damage. Like as you know that if you can just switch the finger with the any kind of pen or any kind of other thing, or you can just say that use any kind of more pressured thing. So you can just put that thing on one area and then on the other. If the force covers the large area, then it causes the less stress, okay. If that same force covers the small point, it causes the more stress, so possibly at the end result in damage. There are three major types of mechanical stress. So these are compressive, tensile, and shear stress. Okay, I can just give you a brief intro to all of that. Okay, there are three main types: compressive, tensile, and shear. Compressive is basically like pushing or squeezing force, common in joints and vertebra. Okay, these kind of stresses occur in joints and vertebra. Tensile stress, pulling or stretching force, seen in muscles, tendon, and ligaments, because the as we have discussed, mechanical stress is inside component. So what would happen is on in joint, in vertebra, everything is related to the inside of your body. Okay, tensile stress seen in muscles, tendon, and ligaments. basically exposure to any of the external force. Okay, same like that, shear force, shear stress, as we have discussed before. I am not going too much depth, or we cannot cover too much depth of these courses because we have discussed everything before. Shear is, as you know, force that acts parallel to the surface, often responsible for tears in soft tissues majorly. So what would happen, all of these things are related to the stress, or you can just say that these are the types of stress. Okay, so there are another point that is very important, that stress and injury risk. Okay, so the magnitude, as you know, that how strong the stress is and the direction in which way the stress acts, okay, matters a lot. A strong blow in the wrong direction can cause many other conditions like muscle tears, ligament sprains, bone fracture. These are all kind of conditions or injuries that are going to happen due to any of the mechanical stress that are acting on a wrong direction. Okay, so understanding stress helps prevent and treat all of these injuries. Okay, so remember, understanding the concept of stress helps you to prevent and treat these kind of injuries. What are these? Muscle tears, ligament sprains, and bone fracture. Majorly, other many other kind of things are also present or occurring in your body, but these are majorly we are going to discuss here. Okay, so what would happen is basically, okay, we can just go for the spinal example or the lumbar region example. Okay, so there are very important concept in the lumbar region. Okay, so what would happen, as you know, lumbar spine carries more body weight than the thoracic spine, because lumbar spine is the lower back and thoracic spine is basically the mid back. Okay, so you might think that this causes more stress, but here is a very important key. As you know, we have discussed before, the lumbar vertebra is basically carrying the more body weight, but lumbar vertebra have larger surface area as well. Okay, so that means lumbar vertebra is larger in their size, in their surface area, so the load is better distributed. So we have discussed before, if the load is distributed well, so you can get the less stress on that vertebra, results in less compressive stress despite all of the more weight. Okay, so that means this is very important to remember that, because this is very important, very important question asking in a viva or basically multiple choice questions. So this is very important to understand that lumbar vertebra have larger surface area, so the load is distributed in a better way, so less compressive stress despite more weight. But there's a catch. Okay, always remember that. L5 and S1, between both of these is present the intervertebral disc, as you know, lowest disc in the spine. Okay, the end of the, as you know, that after that sacrum is the connected bone, so there is no intervertebral disc between them. So what would happen? The lowest disc in the spine is the most common site for herniation. Always remember that. So why? Even though stress is less, but the other contributing factors are also present, like the posture, the mobility, the mechanics, all are going to increase the risk of herniation. That's why this is the most common site for herniation, and this is a very important concept. You need to understand this, okay? So, as a physical therapist, understanding stress helps us modify activities to reduce tissue overload, design the rehab exercise to improve load tolerance, educate patient about posture and load distribution. All are the very important clinical applications related to this. As we have discussed, modify activities related to reduce tissue overload, design rehab exercises to improve the basically load tolerance to stress tolerance. Another thing is educate patient about posture and load distribution. So mechanical stress, as you know, that is a more than just a force. It's about how and where that force acts. So it plays a major role in both injury risk and rehabilitation plan. So always remember, it is a very important concept in a physical therapy. So you need to understand that in a very depth. So thanks for watching. If you have any query, you can ask. Okay, before uh, ending this lecture, I'll just giving you a brief look on the picture that is present in your book. Specifically, what would happen here is, as you can see, this is the surface area and this is also the surface area. Here the surface area is inner, or you can just say that the surface area is larger and the surface area here is very small. Or you can just say that size of the area is small. So what would happen if this is basically the large stress is basically same kind of stress is acting on this area or this area, what would happen? It can never be the same reaction on that body, okay, because this can spread the force, but this cannot spread the force that causes more damage. And if you can spread the force into a larger area, it can cause less damage. So that means the amount of mechanical stress created by force is always inversely proportional to the related to the size of the area over which the force is spread. So that means stress is always equal, as you can see the sign of equal, but the size matters, and at the end the result of that mechanical stress matters, not on the stress but also on the size. So they are inversely relation, that's why they are not equal to, or you cannot say the effect is always equal to the stress, okay, because it has also another component, that is size of the area, okay. Here you can see the spine, as you know that the cervical, the thoracic, the lumbar and the sacrum. So lumbar vertebrae are the larger in size, that's why we have discussed that they can bear more weight, okay. And sacrum, as you know that here the c L5 to s, between s1, this is the major region of basically the disc herniation. So thanks for watching. If you have any query you can ask, and bye bye.